We saw the hunger and the need for people to be able to come to a place where they could find peace and quiet. We knew that one of the lost arts is conversing with each other. Our vision was to have a gathering place where persons could come from different places with different issues. Life happens, and sit around a table and get to know each other. That is the legacy work we really wanted to do.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Total Michigan, where we interview ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I'm your host, Cliff Duvenois. In going around the state and all the travels that we do and the number of Michiganders who actually travel in the state of Michigan, it's always great when we find these people that have taken their homes and really opened them up in the form of a bed and breakfast. So that way we can really spend time with the locals in the area and get to know them, get the places to eat and all that other stuff. And it's a real treat when we find somebody that's really doing something special with their bed and breakfast. So today I am in South Haven, and we're actually talking with one of the owners of Glenn Meadow Bed and Breakfast.
That's right.
That's right. And they're doing some pretty cool things here. And joining us today to walk us through this story is Tracey Davis. Tracey, how are you?
I am good. I'm excited to be with you.
And we're excited to have you. So if you would real quick, tell us, what is Glenn Meadow Bed and Breakfast?
Glenn Meadow Bed and Breakfast is a very small, we have 5 rooms, bed and breakfast, and it's an old-fashioned bed and breakfast. That's people kind of look at that. We definitely have a large country breakfast every morning when a person stays with us, and we gather around the table and we talk and share and have a good time.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if you would, tell us, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in California.
Okay.
Yep. And
We won't hold that against you. I lived in California, so.
My ex-hubby grew up in South Haven, Michigan,
Which
is the connection there.
Right.
And I discovered many, many years ago that I needed to live by a body of water I couldn't see the other side of.
Oh.
Really important for me. Yeah. I was doing my graduate work in the desert at Arizona State University and was geographically miserable. So I knew I needed water. So here I am.
And now I gotta ask the question here. If you grew up in California and you're studying in Arizona, what was your thoughts when you came here to Michigan?
Well, I loved this place. Right out of the gate, I thought it was beautiful. It seemed to have everything that I cherished. I really love the change of seasons. I have always been drawn to that.
Right.
And the ability, I came at a time, my first visit, when everything was blossoming and everything is just...
Michigan at its best.
Oh, man. Just really good. Fresh fruits, there's so much agriculture around here, and I just absolutely fell in love. Yeah.
So now when you talk about life in California, just to give us all a little bit of perspective, you lived in, I guess for lack of a better term, the LA basin.
Right.
So you didn't get a chance to see very many seasons while you were there. I mean, a change of season is one day you're wearing a t-shirt, the next day you might have to put on a sweatshirt.
Well, it gets foggy.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
We would travel to seek out snow. We would travel to look at pretty color, that kind of thing. But my extended family was still in Montana.
Okay.
As young children, we migrated to California. So I was well aware of seasons, and more often than not, we would vacation back in Montana, and we would try to hit all the seasons, and so it wasn't foreign to us.
Right.
I was I believe the one holdout sibling that realized it was going to be important to me. To my well-being, to be in the 4 seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you were sharing with me before the microphones went hot that all of your siblings still live in that area of California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit? Because I'm kind of curious about this from your perspective. What really is kind of like the key differences between California and Michigan that made you want to stay in Michigan?
California, oh, forgive me, Californians, if you're listening out there. California has a tendency to superficiality. There is, everybody needs to be thin and beautiful and golden and drive the right cars and live in the right areas. And that was never compelling to me.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And when I came here, the Midwest, I was a little concerned. I thought I might be going back 150 years. I'm a bit of a women's libber. And it just wasn't so. I mean, I'm sure there are pockets of areas that would represent that Midwest kind of perspective. Right. But when I moved to this area, there was never a passion of mine or an interest of mine that I wasn't able to find someone to mentor me or walk side by side with, whether it was literature or music or theater or all of those things that I didn't expect to find here are here. They're alive and well. So that was important.
Now, because I know this is going to really impact our story later on, where did this thirst for art and literature, where did that come from?
My undergrad was vocal performance. So,
okay.
That's really theater and music, and all of that is a huge piece of who I am. So I would say that although we grew up in a wonderful community, my father was an academic, he was a teacher, and we didn't have a lot of money, so we just would hang out at museums. And really, my parents were really good about taking us to all of the beautiful things that were available in the Los Angeles area that inspired creativity. I mean, that was... We didn't have a lot of extra money, but that's what we did.
Right.
And that informs who you are and what you love, I think.
Definitely. What made you decide to get into vocal as a...
I have some good pipes.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I was a serious singer. I sang opera. Yeah.
Holy cow. That's like a whole other level. This isn't just, like a little auto tune. I mean, you got to have good pipes to sing opera, like magic flute or anything like that.
I as I aged throughout time, I even in this area, this region, I have done quite a bit of performing, mostly recital or for event kinds of things. But I was always interested as we age, of course, our vocal abilities are muscular. I mean, we have to exercise them and use them and all of that. And as we age, certain things happen. But what also happens along sidling up with that is life experience. So some of those songs that I sang differently as a 20, 30, 40-year-old that I'm singing now as a 70-year-old, what can I bring more living to that?
Right.
So it might not be as technically strong, but it's other. There's something else there.
Right.
Yeah.
So at some point you finished up with college and you met your first husband, who was from South Haven, and you both decided to move back here.
Right.
Why?
Because we were starting a family. And I knew that was really important too. I really knew that a smaller community was the focus that we wanted to do. And I already was crazy about South Haven anyway. So.
Because you'd been here.
Yeah, to visit, sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, what did you do at that time? Were you pretty much primarily like a stay-at-home mom?
I was. I was for 8 years. And that was a very... it was an incredible time, really, to be able to spend with the boys. I mean, we were at that time living in the teeming metropolis of South Haven itself, right there in town. And we would go to the beach like as any day that we possibly could hang out. And they were building the itinerant marina, and we would go down and watch them build. And it was just idyllic. It really was.
Right.
Perfect.
As retirement approaches, you're starting to think about what that next chapter looks like.
Right.
Right. So talk to us about that.
Okay. When you have a later in life relationship, all of that gets looked at. Because really you're in a relationship that is the last third of your life.
Correct.
And so the in-game exit strategies kinds of are always under discussion. And Mark is a fixer. He repairs everything. He does everything. He loves to do all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
And he loves to garden, which all of the things that we do here are a delight to us. So it's not as if what is required is a burden. So as long as our health holds,
right.
we're good. We're
right.
good. But the gardening, and we do all of the work outside ourselves. And we realize as we age, because we're 70 at this point, we can get help if we need it. But it's kind of fun to do it right now. We can.
So when you talk about, basically like a later in life relationship, right? What's that exit strategy looks like? At some point, you and Mark had a conversation about let's open up a bed and breakfast. Well,
when I met Mark, we had already turned one of the rooms that extended stay room was already I was doing Airbnb with that room.
Oh, okay.
So as he entered my life, that was already a happening situation. So we were just doing it on a smaller scale.
Right.
So we kind of knew what we were getting into.
So when you talk about putting out these rooms on Airbnb, was this like the rooms that your kids would stay in?
Right, exactly. They were the boys' rooms that we converted into that extended stay.
So where did the idea come from to take their bedrooms and put them on Airbnb?
I always have a lot of company. Usually, this is a very quiet time, Cliff. Usually, it's a revolving door around these parts.
I bet.
But people would come and visit, and I'm a good cook. I like to cook. And
right.
My sister said, you know what? My neighbor in California has a space in their backyard that they have turned into, and this new company was just on the horizon at that point. Airbnb, it was just coming onto the scene, and she said, "You should do that, Tracey. You're already entertaining all the time, and you're cooking all the time, and why not be able to monetize that a little bit?" And I said, okay, and so that's when it all started, really. Now, we have other platforms. We can talk about that later. We aren't just doing Airbnb.
Right.
But that's from whence it grew, right?
So then obviously you had a positive experience.
Absolutely.
With Airbnb.
Absolutely.
And the guests that are staying here.
Yep. And actually, from the beginning, for all the years that we have done this, and had people sitting at our table and have people sharing in our lives because we live here on the property. One time did I ever have to ask anyone to leave.
Wow.
One. That's hundreds of people by now.
Right.
Mostly it has been just an absolute joy. Really.
Now, as you're going through this experience with Airbnb, and you've got these guests that are coming, at what point did you say to yourself, we need to go bigger? We need to expand. We need more rooms.
I really think it was when we were considering retirement. You know what? That is so odd, isn't it? It really is. It said, because then I could full-time focus on it. And so, because I was working full-time, Mark was working full-time. We had careers. This also was a working farm. So we were doing a lot of work.
Right.
So, knowing that we were not going to have any more animals here, and knowing that I wasn't going to have to be haying a field or this or that or the other thing, cleaning rooms was kind of small potatoes next to that kind of work.
For our audience, we're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Tracey Davis of Glenn Meadow Bed and Breakfast, located in South Haven. We will see you after the break. Hey, if you are enjoying these great interviews, just take a moment and go to totalmichigan.com/join, and you can get these episodes sent directly to your inbox because there's a lot more great stories coming. See you there. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Total Michigan, where we interview ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I'm your host, Cliff Duvenois. Today, we are at Glenn Meadow Bed and Breakfast, talking with one of the owners, Tracey Davis. And Tracey, before the break, we were talking about you're approaching retirement. You decided to do something crazy and start a business by going with a full Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, because you'd already had some experience doing this with Airbnb, at some point in time, you decided that basically you were going to double the size of your house to add more rooms, add this beautiful room that we're sitting in right now that still smells of fresh baked muffins. So talk to us about, and the reason why I asked this question was because when most people get to retirement, they're thinking of downsizing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play golf, or maybe I'll donate my time to some local. But you and your husband, Mark, decided to do something completely different. So what was that? What was that idea? What was that thought process behind it?
I think for us, we were thinking about legacy work. What are we going to?
Interesting.
What are we going to leave behind? What footprint and what impact are we going to have on the world? This was really the impetus, I think, of getting bigger. We knew, having done that little, the single room, that family suite down there, we saw the hunger and the need for people to be able to come to a place where they could find peace and quiet. And we knew that one of the lost arts is conversing with each other. And so our vision was to have a gathering place, which is this room, where persons could come from different places with different issues. Life happens, and sit around a table and get to know each other and hear each other and see each other. We talked about being seen. That is really important. And that is the legacy work we really wanted to do.
If you would, when you talk about being seen or being heard, can you share with us maybe some stories about some really great guest interactions, total strangers, that sat down at a table and all of a sudden something magical happened?
Well, I have a couple of them. I will share with you our very first guest. It was it's a different story than I had told you earlier, which I will get to. It was a couple that had come some years ago. This was our first guest when we opened the old portion of our home. And they brought a friend with them. And they came to breakfast, and a female friend wasn't showing up. And I could tell that they were quite anxious about it. They were really quite anxious. And I said, well, do you want me to go and check on this person? And just about that time, this woman came into the room, and she was absolutely glowing. And the friends looked at her and they said, well, how are you doing? She said, I have slept through the night for the first time in 18 months. And she said, I don't know why, but I feel refreshed.
Beautiful.
And they stayed here for 4 days, and she slept through the night. 18 months prior, she had lost her husband, another lost husband.
Oh, yes.
And she was not able to sleep. She was apparently just grief, had done its work. And she felt so comfortable here that she could sleep. Sleep is, it sounds trivial, but it's huge when you know.
Indeed,
so
yes.
that was our first guest. And we just went, wow, okay, that's not about us. That's about this place. That's about this And we spoke to that, this feeling of safety and peace here on this land, on this property. And it started from the very first moment, really. We have so many stories to tell you about persons who might not necessarily rub shoulders with each other. These days we have hard and fixed ideas about different kinds of people. And I think that with social media, sometimes it's easy to think harsh thoughts or to form an opinion when we aren't skin to skin or eyes to eyes or hearts to hearts. And one of the privileges that we have is we are directly between South Haven, Michigan and Douglas, Saugatuck. Douglas, Saugatuck has been a safe harbor since I think the 1930s for persons who recognize themselves to be LGBTQ+. So we have often persons who choose to identify in that area, and they have been so wonderful and glorious to have as friends and people at our table. And we have had so many beautiful experiences where people sit at the table and have discussions with these people. And we had an older woman here visiting with her daughter and husband. And she got up at the end of breakfast and she threw her arms around this couple, this lesbian couple, and she said, "I've never met anyone like you." It was just a lovely kind of exchange where she might be open to kindness instead of judgment.
Right.
So that happens a lot. We often have people come here that need each other. I spoke to you about this summer. We had a family who had brought the wife's mother along with them. And at the same time, we had a mother and adult daughter here visiting. And I recognized right out of the gate that there was a sadness coming from the mother or the grandmother of that family. She sat down to breakfast, and this other lovely older woman reached over and put her hand on this woman's hand and said, I sense that you've suffered some sort of a loss. And this lovely woman just started crying, and she said, "Well, 6 weeks ago I lost my husband." And both of these women, she said, "Well, about a year and a half ago I lost mine." She said, "How about we take a walk? How about we share?" And it was such a lovely thing. These women just bonded. They had so much to share with each other. And it just happens regularly, A personal story, we have a blended family. The youngest of our blended family was going to be going away to school. And as that date approached, she was getting more and more anxious about not necessarily a real social butterfly,
Right.
The 2 weeks before she went away to school, we had some guests here. And one of the guests was the coordinator of student services at the school that our youngest was going to go to.
Oh, that's so cool.
And was able to, they made it a relationship, but also able to discuss at length all of the offerings on campus, just these beautiful things happen, And so that young lady went to school with a new friend in high places and comfortable and really looking forward to thrive. And she did.
I can't believe I'm going to use this word to describe a bed breakfast, but for some reason, there seems to be a certain measure of serendipity.
Oh, yes.
That can happen because you just shared maybe 3 or 4 stories with us just now. And before the microphones went hot, it seemed like you have hundreds of stories. And I say that because also you add the element to, like, before I got here, I probably had about 18 cups of coffee. But when I walked through that door, I was calm. There is just a measure of peace when you are here that I can't put my finger on, you know, and I'm not just saying it because I like your place. I'm just saying it because that's what I felt when I walked through the door. I mean, would you, any idea how that happens, or did you design this to be like this?
Well, I know that the property has some sort of I mean, deeply rooted in it, some sort of healing properties to it, and I'm not crazy about that. I also am really committed to meeting people when they arrive, and one of the things that I always ask is, well, what are you hoping to do this weekend? You know, some people will say, I'm hoping to rest, or I'm hoping that we can, or I'm looking forward to going to all of the local vineyards, or, you know, they have these plans, and I really listen to those. And I really want to make sure that I know what their hopes are, what their goals are. I do think the property offers some special kinds of energy. I also think that Mark and I try to pay attention to the needs and the interests of the people that come here.
Right.
It's important to us that they feel met, that they leave here having not only achieved what they wanted to achieve, but are taking home something extra special too.
Right.
I remember there was a young couple here once, and I could just tell that maybe this was a weekend to try to figure out whether they could fix something, you know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe make their relationship headed in a different direction, trying to find that positive foot forward. And I just, when I make food, I always think of the guests, and when I'm stirring or whatever, it's like a little meditation, and I always think about the people and what my hopes and dreams are for them and what theirs are if they've shared them. Anyway, they spent so much time sitting outside talking under the pergola. And by the end of the weekend, I just felt like they had resolved some stuff. And that was so powerful. It was like,
that's beautiful.
Isn't that neat? And a lot of times it's just about communication. It's just, have we taken the time to quiet ourselves long enough to hear what our loved one is saying, or to, even if they don't have the words, to kind of try to feel what they might be needing.
Yes.
And you can't do that in hustle bustle. It doesn't happen easily in busy. So, yeah. So we offer a slowing, a tenderness, I hope.
If somebody's listening to this, they're like, I have to go to Glenn Meadow. I want some of that peace, tranquility, serendipity. I want some of that quiet, whatever. What can people expect when they come here?
Well, we purposefully chose not to put screens in the rooms. I don't know if you noticed that or not. We have two common areas with large televisions, but...
You're right. You don't have televisions in the rooms.
It's very purposeful what we have tried to create here. There's not a lot of intrusion here. So they can find quiet. The property is we have a lot of birds. And in the summer, the gardens are quite beautiful. We have a vegetable garden. If we have often have a lot of foodies that come because they like that hyper fresh, what did I say? Garden to fork, farm to fork. It's cool to go outside and pick what you want in your omelet. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. We have had young men, the ripe age of 7 and 8, that like to ride on the tractor, that kind of thing, or find critters. These city slickers, they don't often have an opportunity to muck around in the pond.
That's true.
Yeah. I will tell you, it's one of the most moving things that happens. I always ask the kids. I love kids. We are kid friendly and we're pet friendly, so that's really important to me that families can come here as well as individuals. But we were at the breakfast table, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I was asking this darling little guy what his favorite thing was that they had done. And they were from the Chicago area, and their parents were really fast crazy,
Go.
go. And the kids actually seemed to settle into the quiet better than the parents did for a while.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that interesting? But there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, I asked this young man, I said, what was your favorite thing? And he got all excited about it. And he said, well, Miss Tracey, he said, the best thing that happened yesterday is I went for a walk with my mom and my dad.
Oh, that's cute.
And I really wanted his parents to hear that. I wanted them to deeply hear that. You can drop a lot of money on a lot of things and do a lot of stuff and go. But really, that baby just wanted to hold each parent's hand and go for a walk. That's powerful.
That is beautiful, actually.
We've also had, teenagers thrive on making vacations as abhorrent as they possibly.
Of course.
Nothing is working. There's a lot of eye rolling going on, and, especially, well, this is a great story. There was a family who had come here. They had 4 girls, and they were bicyclists, and they had brought their bikes, and this is a really nice area to cycle along the lake. And their oldest was 14, and she was not terrible. I'll tell you another story about a fun thing that happened. But this young woman just wasn't sharing with her parents. She just wasn't sharing with her parents. And so I asked her, what she was interested in. She was kind of interested in cooking. I said, well, come on, let's cook a little bit. Let's just mess around the kitchen. So we developed a little bit of a relationship. And I was talking to her around the breakfast table. They were here for a week, and I don't know, second or third day. And I said, so what is the most important thing in your life right now? I mean, what is speaking to you as a 14-year-old? Big year. I mean, you're a freshman, lots of new changes. She said, I have a boyfriend. And the parents didn't know she had a boyfriend. And she was just talking about this wonderful boy. And I said, well, it sounds like you have made so many good choices. Mom and Dad are probably really proud of you, that what you're talking about is that he's kind to you, that he's smart in school, all of those choices.
Yes.
And the parents' eyes are as big as plates because they have not heard this girl talk about anything, really.
Right,
She's just kind of in her room doing her thing. And it was so wonderful. And I think they left having built bridges of communication, and that's powerful,
They should make a TV show here. I'm thinking like a fantasy island or something
thing.
like that.
I think one of the middle girls, as I remembered, we had just had a litter of barn cats, and she was just in the barn. She just was with the cats. So that's all she wanted. She just wanted to be with the cats, So, yeah. This past summer, we had 2 teenage girls here with their parents, and the parents were so much fun, and they just totally got the teenage thing. Some of the things were going to be a hit, some of the things were going to be a miss. I mean, they were just on their game.
Right.
They had gone to the beach the first day, and they came back the second day, and one of the girls was so terribly burned on one side.
Ouch.
And the dad said, yep, she got angry at us and rolled over and wouldn't roll back.
Oh my goodness.
and cooked, one side. And I tried not to laugh, and I said, well, how did that work for you? And then everybody started, humor can help. And she said, not really that well. I said, I can see that. Yeah.
Ouch.
So it's just funny, the whole thing. Life at large, right?
Yes.
All of
definitely.
it.
And Tracey, if somebody is listening to this and they definitely want to come and they want to stay here, they want to experience this peace, tranquility, serendipity, be right next to Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
How can they find you?
We have a really good website at glenmeadowbb.com, and a person can book directly. We have 5 platforms through a database called Little Hotelier, and so we work with Expedia, so they can make reservations through Expedia, hotels.com, Airbnb, booking.com, and Travel Advisor, I think. So if they are members with any of those places, they should be able to find us. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Tracey, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today. This has been it's been a treat.
For me too. I'm so glad that you're here.
For our audience, you can always roll on over to totalmichigan.com and click on Tracey's interview to get the links that she mentioned above and book your room at this incredibly beautiful bed and breakfast. We'll see you next time when we talk to another Michigander doing some pretty extraordinary things. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.